Hey guys, so today I'm going to give you some tips on how to build your ideal makeup collection. Now this is going to be different for everyone. It all depends on your personal preferences, so I'm going to go over a bunch of different things and try to help you realize your personal ideal makeup collection. So the first thing we want to take into consideration is color. There are so many different colors when it comes to makeup. And as if that wasn't bad enough, within each color is a specific tone. You have cool tones, neutral tones, and warm toned makeup. So you need to take all that into consideration. Now, when it comes to color, some people like to experiment and do lots of different kinds of looks. Some people feel more comfortable sticking with specific colors. So the more you like to experiment, the larger your collection is going to need to be. Ideally, what I would like to see in my own collection is every color grouping and tone within each color. But I think a big mistake that a lot of us make is if we like certain colors and we're really drawn to them, we have a ridiculous amount of the exact same things, but just in different brands. Something else that you might want to take into consideration though is formula. And I feel like when I look at my personal makeup collection, the reason why I have so many of the same types of colors and tones of a specific type of makeup, like let's say lipstick for example, is because every brand's formula is different and I like to experiment. I love to try new things, and I find such a big difference in formula from brand to brand that I'm trying to weed out the stuff that I don't like and find the ideal formula. That way when I do find the ideal formula, I can sort of hone it down to specific colors and tones and so forth. One piece of advice that I would really encourage you to do is the way your makeup is organized, group it by color. Like for example, have all your pink lipsticks in an organizer, all your red lipsticks in an organizer, all your peach and coral lipsticks in an organizer. When you can actually see what you have in front of you, it will help you to identify what you're lacking in, because you might think that you have certain shades of a certain item. Like, I'm just going to keep using lipstick as an example, but this can really apply to anything. You might think you have, you know, a hot pink lipstick that is warm tone and cool tone, but maybe you don't. And when you can see everything grouped together by color, it will show you what you really don't need to buy another of, and it will show you what you don't have. One thing that I think a lot of people don't have in their collection when it comes to blushes is a red blush. And I talked about this recently in some of my videos when I was doing certain kinds of looks. And if you feel like you don't need a red blush, just try buying an inexpensive one. The Milani Bella Rosa is a really pretty red blush, and you can do so many different kinds of looks with it, especially in the fall and winter. Sometimes you'll need like a stronger blush to pull a look together, but it all depends. Like for example, today I did a hot pink lip, and so in order to balance that out, I went with a light peach blush to make sure that the hot pink lips didn't overwhelm everything, because I also went with kind of an intense brown-eyed look for my eyeshadows, so I didn't want to go crazy with every single aspect of my makeup. I'm trying to create some balance here. Speaking of different kinds of looks and creating balance, experiment, experiment, experiment. You really won't know what things you like together unless you try. Just make sure you don't have any place important to go that day. A lot of times when I'm not filming videos on like the days that my husband is home or something like that, I will try out, you know, some weird combinations and Sometimes it's a major fail, but sometimes I end up finding some combinations that I really like, and that's the only way that you're gonna find out for sure. Like for example, today, I had never done a light peach blush with a hot pink lip before, and I think it looks fine. I like it. I don't know that I love it, but I do like it, and I don't think it looks bad. But that's really the only way you're gonna be able to tell, is to experiment. But back to the subject at hand of building your ideal makeup collection. Price is something to consider too, because not everybody, you know, everyone has different budgets for their makeup. I personally need to try to keep it within reason and spend as little as possible, because you know that brings up a whole nother ball game. But I need to try to keep it a reasonable amount of money, and I think that once in a while it's okay to splurge and maybe buy something nice, maybe for your birthday or for Christmas, or I don't know, you know, special occasions. I feel like you appreciate your nicer, more expensive things more if you don't have so many too, because if you're always buying expensive makeup, then what is going to make it special to you? It's not going to seem as special. But speaking of price, just because something is expensive doesn't make it better. I have hammered away at this over the last few years in my videos, and it's true. There are great things at all price points. You don't have to spend a lot of money to get something good. Now, some of the things that I own that are expensive, that I really love and are good, but I've also been majorly disappointed with certain things. If you read blogs and you read product reviews, you will see that just because something is an expensive brand definitely does not make it good. I've seen F's and D's in a lot of product reviews that I have read, and a lot of times they are the expensive brands. So, you know, do your homework. If you don't enjoy returning makeup, which I definitely don't, try to find a YouTube video or try to find a blog entry of somebody reviewing that product so that you don't have to return it, and that way you know in advance whether it's going to be good or not. Sometimes it's fun just to take a chance, but I don't really like returning makeup, so a lot of times I will do some research ahead of time. Something else to take into consideration is whether something is limited edition, permanent, or discontinued. Some people get a big thrill by buying something that's discontinued from eBay or Amazon or that type of thing. You know, there might be an item that was limited edition that passed them by, and now they are on the hunt to find it. And that's fine if that's your thing. I prefer to buy things that are permanent, because that way if I want to use them in some sort of tutorial video or any kind of video really where I'm talking about it, it makes it kind of hard when I'm showing you a limited edition product, because then you won't be able to get it, and then I'm going to feel bad, you're going to feel bad. So I try to focus on the permanent items, but that's not always possible, because earlier in my YouTube career I was obsessed with limited edition collections, and so I do have a lot of things in my collection, especially powder products that are limited edition, so you will definitely see those pop up in my videos quite often, because that's what I was into at the time. But I wasn't thinking about how the effect that was going to have on my videos or the people that watch them. So now I try to stick with permanent products if I can. But makeup companies are changing things up so fast and discontinuing entire lines, coming out with new ones, that, you know, it seems like no matter what you do, you're going to end up having items in your collection that are no longer available. Okay, let's see. What else do we need to take into consideration? Finishes. Products come in all different finishes, whether it be a blush, an eyeshadow, or a lipstick. So you may have an item that is in a color and a tone that you want, but maybe you also want to have that in different finishes. And by experimenting with that and trying different things, it will help you to realize what finishes you like, because there are so many different kinds that once you've experimented with trying out different things, you'll start to see which ones you like the best. But the bottom line is, I like trying new things, and even if I already have a wide variety of products in my collection, I'm still gonna want to try different things from different brands, especially new products that have just been released and are a new part of a company's line. My curiosity gets the best of me. But what I've been trying to do lately is, if I see a product somewhere, whether it be in a video, in a magazine, or I read about it on a blog, I try to see if I already have something very similar in my collection. And if I do, I just pull that out and use it that day. So I'm gonna try very hard not to duplicate things that are very similar to what I already have. I feel like the category that has the most diversity to it is eyeshadows. Eyeshadows can have such subtle differences, and even though they can be similar to something else, they can still be different enough that I feel like I can justify buying it and adding it to my collection. So eyeshadows are sort of the thing that I enjoy purchasing the most because they have such subtle differences. I would say it used to be nail polishes. I used to be such a nail polish fiend, but my collection now is kind of overwhelming me, and I'm trying very hard not to buy any more nail polishes because I have so much already that I don't see a lot of unique things to my collection. Most of the time I already have something very similar to what's out there and what's new. So in case you were wondering why you're not seeing as many new nail polish purchases, speaking of nail polish, I've got to mention this, even though this doesn't really have anything to do with what we're talking about. I recently painted my nails with Essie Wicked, and I had forgotten how much I love this polish. It goes on so nice, and you would think that a color like this is sort of a burgundy with a real dark richness to it. It's almost like so dark that it's almost like black, but it's definitely burgundy. But the application of this was such a dream that it made it not difficult to put on at all, which, you know, this kind of color would usually be difficult. So anybody who's been on the fence about Essie Wicked, I would say get it. This is an awesome polish. But on the flip side, because everything is not wonderful, I did want to mention that the last polish I had on before this was Essie Turquoise and Caicos. If you think that color is pretty, yes, I agree, it is pretty. But oh my god, that formula is horrible. I fought like hell with that to put it on and try to make my manicure look decent. And then even when I did, it chipped like within such a short amount of time that it was ridiculous. So if you've ever thought about buying Essie Turquoise and Caicos, don't do it. You can thank me later. So let's see. Back to the subject at hand. Building the ideal makeup collection. I would say if you want to do a wide variety of looks, you're going to need a lot of products. Lipsticks, I would say the ideal lipstick collection would be, believe it or not, 50 lipsticks. Now that's what would be perfect for me, but it depends on your taste. Like for example, NYX just came out with those macaroon lipsticks that were all crazy colors, aqua and green, and that doesn't really interest me because I know darn well I'm not going to wear those crazy colors. When I first started off on YouTube, I was really into anything strange and unusual, and that's great. But now, you know, I've sort of come back down to earth and I like colors that are more wearable and easier to mix and match with other products and get different kinds of looks. So the more creative you are and the more open-minded you are, the larger your makeup collection is going to need to be in order to incorporate all the different colors that makeup comes in. So, and you know, I did sit down and like look at how many different colors there were for different categories. So 50 is just my personal number for how many different lipsticks I would need to own to make it ideal, but it's going to be different for you. Now, blushes you can get away with a lot less, because really I feel like all you need in your collection to do a lot of different kinds of looks is maybe a light, medium, and dark pink in warm and cool, and maybe a neutral, a red. If you have a red, the only diversity you would really need within there would be maybe a light red and a darker red, or something that leans cooler versus warmer, or just a neutral. And then a coral is good to have, a peach, a rose, a plum, and maybe something neutral like a bronzy color. So you don't really need that much diversity within blush, but it depends. It's so personal. Are you a blush fiend? Okay, maybe then that's where you want to put your focus and have a much wider variety and diversity of blushes. So it's all a matter of personal preference, but I just wanted to throw out some things today that maybe you hadn't considered, give you some ideas about different areas to look at. I mean, there's just so many things to consider when it comes to the ideal makeup collection. So hopefully I gave you some tips that helped, and I will see you next time. Bye.